going in to help communities means helping them prepare for any eventuality, and that means sustainability.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Proportion Global Community episode number 2 around the value of human-centered design. And I welcome you to the show, Beverly from Zimbabwe, right? Can you shortly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am Beverly Sekete, based in Zimbabwe. I'm a human-centered design consultant. See myself more as a facilitator. This is because of my view on design and what it can do in communities. I'm passionate about social innovation and the impact that design can have in all aspects of our economies. And my goal is to educate clients in the different sectors and designers as well. We have as much to learn from each other in our projects, but just to learn to bring structure in how we approach transformation projects and for better outcomes, more sustainable outcomes. And that's my goal as a designer.
So you propose to talk about the value of human-centered design. Why did you pick that topic? Why is that such a challenge to bring across?
Yeah, I feel like, design has been around for a very long time. But, as we know, we live in developed worlds and in developing sectors, and the conversation is different, about design around these areas. And there are definitely areas around the world, and especially in developing countries, where people don't know what design is, or they have a very, traditionalist view on design. They don't understand that there is a holistic and intangible side to design, and there is technical design, which is sort of the more structural aspects. And this is what people view it as. So if you go in talking about, the value of design in an organization or in a community, people think, well, look, we don't need more buildings, or we don't, but it's actually helping people, holistic design, HCD, human-centered design, is about changing mindsets, changing how people think about how we can transform processes, and helping clients and community members themselves understand that they're as important in this process as the professionals themselves. And that professionals have as much to learn from the people they design for, and vice versa. And I feel that's the route to sustainable outcomes, more sustainable outcomes, where everybody takes ownership along the way, and people can pull out, of areas having made an intervention with a good intention of helping people. And when people take ownership of design solutions, that's where true sustainability begins, in my view.
Right. So we've spoken to a lot of human-centered designers within our networks. And what I've seen across as well is that most human-centered designers really like to kind of empathize with the end users, do field research, come up with great ideas, come up with prototypes and test it. But not all of them are also really focusing on the client's internal processes and their internal management. Is often neglected. It's the primary focus is the end user. But what are the key barriers if you don't take the strategic organization of your client into the equation?
Yeah, I think, like you're saying, there is this focus on, yes, human-centered design and call it design thinking. It's very user-focused, and people are talking about customer centricity and user-centeredness, but the people along the journey who designed this product within are also clients, they're internal clients. And that means their frustrations, their thinking needs to be considered, because they also have input. And I think as designers, sometimes we forget that the people in the organizations we're working with, when they step outside of work, they become part of that whole pool of demographics. They may be using the very product that has been designed, or need the system that's designed. They live in these communities. So it's important to have cross-functional relationships across different departments, to have buy-in from top leadership, because they influence culture massively. And when they understand the value to the internal stakeholders, which is their team members and their middle management, it helps to translate the vision of a project. It helps to translate the benefits a lot better. And this comes up, in certain things like, the McKinsey business value of design, and other design bodies have taken onto this. And they've actually come up with a way of measuring the impact of design, which is really, really powerful. And there's information about it, and now you can actually access it. And we'd definitely be happy to share more and unpack the sort of 4 thematic areas that they've kind of zoomed into that benefit internal and external processes in design.
So what you basically are saying is that besides being a designer, you actually would need to take up the mandate as almost like a business strategist.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I also assume, and I know from experience, that not every designer feels comfortable in that role, or might say, I don't have that mandate. I just have been hired to conduct this design research, to help in making sense out of that data, to come up with a good user experience design, but how it's embedded in a business case or how it's owned by the client, that's out of my scope. And I might also feel a bit uncomfortable in going beyond that design mandate. So what's your take here? What's your experience? Should designers be more bold and the beginning of a project kind of broaden the scope of their mandates?
Absolutely. I think it does add a bit more work, a bit more data analysis with regards to what you're actually collecting. But it's important to understand the goal of the project or the goal of the client. And I mean, part of it, if it's private sector that you're designing a product, they want to make money ultimately, right? It's all about the bottom line. And if the research that you're gathering, and if you're going to help them unpack that data, how does it feed into streamlining their processes? And even communities want sustainability, and ultimately you cannot exclude money from the equation. You know, people need to be able to generate their own income. The same way as designers, we're trying to do that. And if you exclude yourself from that process, you don't see yourself as a business. As designers, we are a business if you work for yourself. I think it's about shifting our perspective and seeing ourselves even almost in the position of the people we're working with. They want to make money, we want to make money. How do you do that? How do we tailor our service to enhance that service? So you've got to work with business analytics if you're going into an organization. That's the multi departmental or cross-disciplinary aspect of it. I mean, you'll hear IDEO talking about this. You know, design projects definitely pull from different disciplines. We don't work in isolation. We cannot, especially as human-centered designers. Our ability to see multiple problems in multiple directions directly speaks to the universality of design. We can go into any space really and help people. And because of that, we have to learn to understand their perspective, to understand what they do, to better design their solutions and to better design their experience, you know, of holistic design. And usually I think it's one thing to empathize with the user. You've got to empathize with the client as well and understand their roadblocks. If budget is an issue, okay, fine. We've got this timeline. What can we take out of the design sprint? Who do we need to involve? Does the finance director or finance manager need to know what we're doing so they can say budget spend is this? What do we cut out of our process? But as designers, we know what is important, what we cannot exclude. There's definitely something that can be done continually because we put out a minimum viable product or minimum lovable product, right? Which is continually being improved. This is why we get iOS updates. You know, our phones are prototypes, essentially working prototypes, but we continue to update because this is just business processes. We've got to start to understand that, especially holistic design. It's business and design. It's just the way the world is going, in my opinion.
This really resonates with the business clients, the corporate sector. But the NGO, the development sector, is not really designed well. Also, they are depending on donor money, and donor money is often programmatic or project based. It's not almost never designed to be iterative, or even it does not really allow you to pivot. Even they want to have your product in the beginning, and then it's all about creating scale and massive impact. So how to deal with those challenges? I mean, talking business with the corporate sector sounds even more easy
Yeah.
than really relating to the dynamics of an NGO.
I think, like you're saying, I think each sector is equally problematic, but I mean, even donors need to justify where their money is going and what it's done. And that thinking as designers, if we have that thinking of, okay, this money has got to go in and make an impact. It's got to go in and achieve some sort of continuity, some sort of scalability, depending on what it is that you're going in to do. So, I mean, instead of, say, a farming community going in with a certain amount of money, instead of giving this money to people, help them, teach them how to use the crop that they harvest to generate more money, right? This is then sustainability, because they don't wait until next year for that NGO to come back and give them implements. By the time they come back the next year, their needs would likely have evolved, because they've, sustainable farming practices have likely been embedded into this community. Now they need more complex farming implements, maybe, and it changes donor budgets. It changes their program design. I think it is having an awareness of the fact that the donors themselves could be a business, whatever the entity is that's giving money, but they've got to account for what that money is going in to do. And especially COVID, I think, has really, really shown us that many countries pulled budgets out of certain regions because they just couldn't afford to keep those lines of credit open anymore, because their own economies needed it. And I think that heightened the need for developing countries to become more proactive and self-sustaining in their practices. So as HCD designers, if we're going to go in and help these people in these spaces, having that awareness of, you can't always rely on a donor. Disasters come, natural disasters, and even in developed worlds, this is happening, countries. So going in to help communities means helping them prepare for any eventuality, and that means sustainability. And it's not necessarily for profit, but it's more for sustainability, for continuity. It's achieving the same goal, but they decide how much more money they want to scale up, and they become it. I think it stimulates entrepreneurial sort of thinking, especially in developing countries, when people realize we actually don't have to wait for these guys to come in. And when they do, they also help to steer the conversation. I mean, this is participatory design, right? You're building from the bottom up. To have a conversation together, building with the community, rather sort of going in with, we have the solution, because there may not be the solution they need. Yeah.
All right, let's have a forlook to the session. The upcoming live session with the community of the Proportion Global professionals in human-centered design will be about this topic, the value of HCD. So one of the things that we will discuss, right, is asking people to submit some of their past projects.
Yeah.
And then let's unpack that and kind of dig deeper. What was the value of that particular project? So how would you envision that session? And what will be your call for our community members?
I think it would be great to have people submit case studies from different thematic areas. That would be amazing, because then it would allow us to really go and unpack, like I mentioned, those 4 thematic areas from the sort of the value of design. And then we can kind of translate them to the different sectors. It would help to see common kind of areas coming up in different thematic sort of fields, and then taking a deeper dive with with our design community on where do they see these things occurring, and how can we weave it into our own process as designers to start to build that meta awareness, that business awareness into our own processes as designers.
Wonderful. So the call for our community members, please submit your cases that you have been working on in the past, if you would like to have a group reflection on the value of that particular project. And maybe not only the project, it's primarily we will kind of reflect on how did you engage your clients? How did you make sure there was ownership? How did you make sure there was also sustainability of the product or service that you have been designing? How do you make sure that there is room for iterative improvements? So let's dig deeper in that in the next session, and I really look forward to host you again there Beverly. If you are watching this video and are not yet part of the community, then please do apply. Go to proportion.global/community if you are a designer based in either Africa, South Asia, or South America.
Awesome.
Thank you. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you.